70 hours after a yet-to-be-identified gunmen attacked a correctional center, releasing 1,844 inmates, and the headquarters of the Imo Police Command and another police station was attacked in the state on Thursday, the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, asked police officers in the state to use their rifles to defend themselves against criminals, defending the mayhem on the state police headquarters as an attack on the integrity of the government, stating a detailed investigation will be carried out to fish out the perpetrators of the attack.
The primary purpose of government is the protection of lives and property. And I don't think that there will be any reasonable government that will sit back, watch this type of thing happen without taking drastic measures to address them. So we already know the activities of these hoodlums is coming on the increase. And the government will rise to the occasion. Security agencies will provide the appropriate synergy and will also rise to the occasion and ensure that this thing is brought to an end.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo also visited the state, condemning the attack and promised to pardon any prisoner who returned voluntarily.
Process, we will see a much more enhanced. Government has already taken steps to enhance security here and in the correctional facility and in the state generally, and that's a continuing process. We will see a much more enhanced security arrangement.
Here with me in the studio to speak on this is former Assistant Director at the Department of State Security Service, Dennis Amachree. Mr. Amachree.
Good evening.
It's good to have you here on This Is Live, the Sunday Talk Show.
It's a pleasure.
Now, you've been quoted in the media as having made some comments on this situation in Imo State. You said, for example, that there was actionable intelligence provided long before that incident occurred, whether the police failed to act and the state governor failed to act. And of course, the second leg of that question that I would like you to address is the Department of State Services through my friend Peter Ifunaya, saying that you were expressing a personal opinion. And I know that even when you guys leave office, you still remain in service. If you could just address those two parts of the question.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. You see, when things like this happen, especially in security, it is very, very serious for the country not to politicize it. Because what we usually do is politicize, ethnicize, or, put some other things to water down the real situation. What happened in Imo State was a very, very, very serious situation where the police headquarters was burned down. And then, of course, you look at the correctional facility that was also break into, and then people were released. Although I'm retired, but when things like this happen, I also want to find out. I want to find out what is going on. And, of course, my inquiries showed that this particular event was reported to Imo State government and the police and the army. So it's one that, Dr. Afunaya is still in service, so he might want to couch his own.
You want to provide a cover story,
want to
as
give
you guys
a
call
cover
it.
story, but that's okay. My own concern as somebody who is retired after serving so many years to the country is to deal with these things directly, and then of course let the responsible parties take care of it, because I think Nigeria is sliding into a conflict trap, and then if we don't address this, I think we will not have a country. So this is not the time to play politics or to be very nicey about what is going on.
Well, but in this particular case, you also directly accused the former Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu.
Yes.
Former Inspector General of Police, as he now is, of, in fact, jumping to the wrong conclusion by directly accusing the indigenous peoples of Biafra and the Eastern Security Network.
Yes.
You recall that after the then Inspector General of Police told that line, the governor of Imo State also told that same line, but he then backtracked. He then said, no, it's no longer IPOB and ESN. It was now his political opponents.
Yes.
What information do you have? What intelligence do you have in terms of, who could possibly be responsible? Was it a case of politically motivated attacks, or some people just trying to set up Imo State as a target?
Well, when an event like that happens, usually those of us who are private security consultants will take a risk assessment on what actually happened. Independent risk assessment on what is going on. And then we'll look at the events as they happen. And when you look at the event itself, you find out that within 24 hours, the Inspector General flew in with the Vice President. And then right there at the place, I know that investigations were going on. In fact, nobody knew who they were. And then the Inspector General said that they were IPOB. And I think that was very hasty, because I would have expected him to listen to the Commissioner of Police or even the governor to say that these are IPOB people. IPOB came out to say they are not the ones. And then the governor, of course, like you said, he first said, yeah, it's IPOB, then he retracted and said they are not IPOB. If you look at it, in the private security angle, I think we have a basic shady idea about who did it.
So who did it?
We are still investigating, because we have
What was that shady idea you have?
we have to be very, very clear about what is going on, considering past events. There were certain events that have happened in the state that involved also the former governor, and then, of course, other things that were happening in the state itself.
But in what direction is the probability of evidence leaning?
Well, if they conclude, I don't want to preempt their investigations, but if they follow the investigations properly, without even mixing it with politics, because that is another show in Nigerian politics, where they will say, oh, it's a family affair, or it's this or that. We believe strongly that if Nigeria has to succeed as a country under the rule of law, they should call a spade a spade. When something happened, the people involved should be responsible in answering that question.
Yeah, but if you look at what happened in Imo State, many of the units that were attacked, they were all within what you would consider a security zone.
Yes.
In the state capital. The police headquarters, not too far away from the prison, what we now elegantly call Correctional Services Center.
Yeah.
There was even an attempt on the government house.
Yes.
So, how possible is it that these strategic public facilities, security units, will be attacked for hours and there will be no response? Is it that, what is the problem?
That is the lackadaisical attitude that I was referring to. Because there was intelligence. Nobody has come out to say that there was no intelligence. There was an intelligence concerning this particular event. Now, with this event, we expected that the responsible security agencies will be on alert. Because if you're not on alert and your own police headquarters is going to be attacked and you have information about it, that place should be locked down to make sure that it doesn't happen. At the same time, the correctional facilities, even the correctional facility had precedents where the one in Anambra, the one in other states that have happened. So they should be able to, put some kind of security around it. But if you look at it right now, or if you even go to other states now, you find out that there is no defensible space. Most of them are already in the middle of a city. The static security that is supposed to protect the hurdles that you will pass through before you get to the facility itself are non-existent. So these are things that even an ordinary analytic person should be able to know.
But why is it that the Nigerian state is unable to protect the people? Because even after the Easter Monday attacks that we witnessed in Owerri, the state capital, we've now seen more attacks on police stations in Mbitoli local government, in Heimemba non-local government, and in other parts of Imo State. Why should that be the case? Shouldn't there have been a scaling up of the security alert level in that particular state that seems to be under siege?
I think, Dr. Ruben, we have to look at the holistic picture. The Nigerian police, as it is right now, I think are very withdrawn because a lot of them had had a very bad brush with society, starting from the end SARS, and from that period till now, a lot of them have been taken to the tribunal, although we've not had any convictions. And then, of course, a lot of them have died. It reminds me of what happened in Egypt, where almost during the revolution, 90 police stations were burned down. And that is repeating itself here in Nigeria. And of course, when you look at it, there is a trust deficit that exists between the police and the citizens. That means nothing has been learned, because we expected that at least with what has happened, there will be a stretch out of hands from both parties to make sure that we even out the rough edges. But it is continuing. And the police is steadily spread all over the country. And when they are very sad about even their welfare and other kinds of things, it is going to be a big problem. I think that is the first thing we should, we should address: the police structure and their orientation.
Well, the former Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, ended up in public reckoning as a casualty of the crisis in Imo State and perhaps also in neighboring Abia State, where the governor had to declare curfew in Umuahia and Aba. Even while he was on a visit to that state, he got the information that he had been sacked. Will you consider this a vindication of the Nigerian people, the commentators, who insisted in February, first week of February, that his tenure should not have been extended by the president?
Personally, I don't know. It is the prerogative of the president to appoint or fire or extend. But when you look at it from what was going on, I was wondering whether there was a special duty that he was supposed to perform in the 3 months before he leaves, or if it will give the government a good space. And I think that must be more likely what has happened. A good space to look for somebody, the selection process, to make sure that they get the right person. So maybe that 3 months, and they've got the person already, and they have to terminate it in 2 months. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know what's going on in their head. Well,
even if that was the reason, look at the manner of his, disengagement. He was on assignment, on active duty in Owerri to go and assess the security situation.
Yes.
And he left Abuja. The vice president was also heading towards Owerri. He was there at the same time. Could it be that even the vice president himself was not aware that the Inspector General of Police was going to be removed by the president?
Well,
because it looked really untidy.
You know how things happen here in Nigeria. This is not the first time. Sometimes, especially during the military regimes, where you will hear your name on radio or TV that you've been appointed a minister. It has happened. So I think we're still a backlash of all those things that we have, where people are not disengaged properly. And then, of course, some people will hear it when they are still on the field. Gowon was it in Kampala, attending an OAU meeting, and he heard that he has been overthrown. So I don't think it's becoming a trend where, you know, the proper procedures are not followed in disengaging people who are working in government.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Are you saying that the extension of the tenure of Mohammed Adamu as Inspector General of Police was really unnecessary?
I think it was unnecessary because I know that, in fact, from what I've heard from other friends of ours, that he has put in his resignation almost a year ago. He did. His retirement application has been put in months before now, before the retirement date. So I don't know why action was not taken on it, and they waited until the time and then have to extend. So I really don't know the reason for that.
What, if indeed they put in a notification of his retirement, why then did he, after February 4, after he had been appointed by the president, now get involved in all that legal tussle about how the Police Act 2020 avails him the opportunity to remain in office to 2023? Wasn't that greed and desperation on his part?
I think this question is for him. Yes, because it was unnecessary, you know. And I don't know whether he wants to drop a legacy, but fighting about that when he knew that it's just on the doorway, I think was not necessary.
Will you say that Mohammed Adamu as IGP had a good run, or he ended very badly?
He came in also when we were looking for a very good head for the Nigerian police. And he has done one or two things, but it's like there was no shining light where I will say that, yes, this is what he has done. And that is what I'm expecting from the new guy too. Because you have to hit the ground running and then, of course, do something that is different from what has been going on before. Nigeria has been begging for state police. We've not been able to get it. And then, of course, it is mainly the police people that are trying to stop that from happening, from what we have gathered, you know. So, if he's ready for that, he said he's going to reform the police, I think this is the time for him to do that, so that he will create that legacy for the 2 years or so that he's going to be in office.
Well, many Nigerians have expressed concern about the emergence of Usman Alkali Baba as Inspector General of Police, even if for now in an acting capacity. And the questions have to do with the fact that he's a Muslim. 2, the fact that he's a northerner. 3, the fact that he's from the same geopolitical zone as other IGPs that President Buhari has appointed so far. And people raise the question about northernization. Would they have been better served and their expectations met if, for example, the new Inspector General of Police had come from another zone, not the north? What do you think?
Well, that's the wish of many Nigerians. But remember, it is the prerogative of the president to appoint who he wants to appoint and who he wants to fire.
Well, but the president of Nigeria talks about the prerogative, the powers to hire and fire under Section 171 of the 1999 Constitution. But that 171 section of the 1999 Constitution contradicts Sections 214, 215, 216, which require him to be fully apprised of the sentiments of Nigerians, the expectations of Nigerians, the ethnic balancing, and even more importantly, the need to consult the police council.
Yes.
But we have seen the this president, not consulting the police council. He takes a unilateral decision in terms of the appointment of Inspector Generals of Police, and the police council may be called, if he so decides later, just to come and ratify. And don't forget that the police council comprises even, specifically governors of all the states of the Federation. But in this appointment, as in previous cases, they are not allowed to have a say. Why is that so? And do you think that is a good way to go?
I am not in government. Otherwise, I will tell you why.
No, I'm stating the law,
yeah.
the process.
That's the law, and that's how it should be. But, this is not the only appointment that goes that way. So I still remain to say that it is his prerogative, and if that's how he wants, that's his style. And if that's the one, and there are other people that could actually challenge this. People in the police council, governors, can challenge and say, no, we are supposed to follow this. But if those people are saying no problem, then who is who to say, why do you do that?
But the Nigerian president is a monarch. Who is that governor who is going to challenge the president of Nigeria?
Yeah, so our own democracy is different from other democracies. So, this is what we're experiencing.
Okay, but what do you know about this Usman Akali Baba? Many people have been telling me we don't even know him. What is his achievement? When I read out his CV, they say, no, please leave that CV. Too many Nigerians have CV. Yeah. Who is he? What has he done? Do you know something special about him that recommends him?
I don't know. One thing I know about...
You don't know anything about him?
Yeah, I don't know much. One thing I know about him is that he was first secretary. And to be a first secretary, that means that's a big responsibility. He's the head of administration, where you actually know the ins and outs of the police. So I hope that he's going to bring that knowledge or the experience there to bear on what he's going to do now as Inspector General of Police. So with being first secretary, he must have seen the loopholes of what is happening in the police and then, of course, how to correct them. That's the only thing I know about him. I know that he's been in other command positions, but I really don't know about him.
He was CP Delta, he was CPFCT, he was DIG in charge of criminal investigations at the headquarters. But all of that, people say, this is just on paper. If a man is distinguished in his profession, we will know who he is. So
definitely, that's
true. Is he there
true.
because he's from Yobe State?
I don't know.
Quickly, upon assuming office, he quickly met with persons he called strategic commanders of the police operations in different zones.
Yes.
And he said he's going to rejig police operational strategy.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean? That's beginning to sound like mere platitude. And every person that is appointed just comes with his platitudes. What exactly should he do?
I think what he could do, first of all, the problem we're having about the structure of the police is constitutional. Is it 214,
215, 216?
That says that there will be a Nigeria police force, one. Yeah. Okay? Now, if he's a believer of state police, I think he should lobby some of these legislators to do it. I don't know why they don't want to do it, because I remember that these are the same APC legislators that were for state police when PDP was in government. And they were shouting. I know I've been even on TV with some of the CSOs to governors talking about state police. Now, APC is in government and state police have been pushed backwards. Now, I think I can see the fear where people think that creating a state police is to give the governor some teeth or some kind of power that he will use against his political opponents. But I think if they go that route, it is the wrong way to go, because creating a state police or a local government sheriff should be according to law. They are law enforcement agency. And there are laws, state laws, federal laws that should be, enforced, not political laws. And when they do this political law thing, whereby even like the DSS, where they could not use their full powers because they are a department of the presidency. So we are fighting to see if the DSS, the police itself, would be independent. Independent in the sense that constitutionally independent and their powers, fully given to them, and they are answerable only to the Constitution of Nigeria.
But beyond the constitutional framework, what other operational challenges do you think should be addressed?
Well, operationally, I think we are very, years back when it comes to equipment. I think there is need for modern equipment. Some of them could not be gotten because of the political, diplomatic stance that we had with certain countries. But if you do your diplomacy very well, you should be able to get some of this equipment from some countries which are supposed to be friendly, and then of course go into modern technology where some of the things that we do for investigations are, kind of archaic. And then people are using drones, people are using eye in the skies and stuff like that. I think these are listening devices. These are the things that our security agencies should have at their fingertips now.
Well, many Nigerians have expressed concern about restructuring and the nature of that restructuring. Restructuring means different things to different people.
Yes.
Some people talk about economic restructuring. Some people think that what you need is judicial reform. Some people say it's electoral reform. Some people want regional government. Some people say, oh, secession. Some people insist, look, let's even dissolve this union. What's your assessment of the threat level to Nigeria? Because I think we haven't had it this bad.
Yes.
As some people say. I'm quoting people. I'm not saying so.
Yes.
What's your assessment of the threat level?
The threat level is very high, very, very high. Nigeria is at the crossroads right now. And if we don't take time, we might, God has been very helpful to us, whereby, Nigerians are very religious people. But this is beyond religion now, whereby we've been pulled back from the precipice many times. And now this particular one is more than any other one that we have experienced. There are all pockets of agitations. In fact, warlords are coming out from different areas in the country, which might remind you of maybe Colombia or Somalia, or even the DRC Congo. So we have to address it. I don't know, the legislators, you see, this is not the time for politics. I would have even wished that we have 2 more years before the next election. Forget about all the campaignings that have started right now. Face the national emergency that we are facing now, and then deal with it. Because if we don't do that, I'm talking like a patriotic Nigerian now. If we don't do that, we will get warlords, people in the northeast, Boko Haram, trying to form their own caliphate. In the middle, northwest, we are going to have others, bandits with their own kingdom banditry or whatever. And then southeast, southwest, and then, of course, south-south. And when all these things start happening, then what do we have? We have fiefdoms all over the country of maybe warlords who are going to draw their own imaginary boundaries and say, you cannot come in if you don't take their own visa or pay their tax. So this is what we are heading towards. I think this is the time any patriotic Nigerian should start thinking seriously. Forget about politicking. If we want the one country to start doing something towards that.
No, but some Nigerians say we don't need to be one country.
Well, if we don't want to be one country, let us sit down and talk about it and say, okay, we don't want to be one country. You go your own way, I go my own way. But if we leave it to fester the way it is going, I think we are heading towards a very bad plan.
Well, the former Inspector General of Police, when he was reporting on the preliminary investigations conducted with regard to the Easter Monday crisis in Imo State. The report indicated, according to him, that many of the persons who attacked the correctional facility and the police headquarters, they had sophisticated weaponry. Rocket-propelled grenades,
Yeah.
AK-49 rifles, submachine guns, special purpose machine guns, all kinds of weapons, including IEDs, that should not be in the hands of ordinary people.
Ordinary people, yes.
And before him, former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, also raised alarm about the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. The convenient excuse is to say, oh, these arms and small arms and light weapons came from the Maghreb and came from Libya. Now, that's what government officials say all the time. How do we just slip off? And all these weapons, small arms and light weapons, entered Nigeria, and that has become a problem. How do we solve it? Failure of intelligence or incompetence?
It's not a matter of intelligence, because I know that due to some intelligence work, some have been intercepted, right from the seaport there, pump actions that were coming in from Turkey. But for that one shipment, I know that maybe other 5 had gone in. And you find out that the proliferation, although the former head of state said that there are about 6 million, I think that figure is very, very understated. Very understated, because I remember during the Jonathan administration, there was a committee that was set up for the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. And from there, with ECOWAS,
yes, I'm aware of that.
Yes, and when they did, I think we came up with about 80 million and stuff like that in the West Africa sub-region. And the majority of that arms are in Nigeria. So that 6 million might even be understated. But that tells you the seriousness of that problem, where a lot of arms are in here, coming in from everywhere on a daily basis. Because now, the former Inspector General was busy telling people to surrender their arms while headsmen were carrying AK-47s. And those ones were not dealt with. And that's what we're saying, that if you want to do your work properly, do it so that people will see you as doing it. Because you don't allow some people to do it, and they will start manufacturing stories or reading meanings into whatever you're doing. So if you don't want arms, the government have to be very serious about it. Deal with it. If you want to exchange arms for money, do it. Many countries have done that. But if you want to deal with it in the sense of getting intelligence and then raiding places, go ahead and do it. But let's have results. And if we have results, I think we'll be getting somewhere.
But do you see any connection, or can you establish any connection about the spate of insecurity in some parts of the country, particularly the Southeast in this instance, and the politics of 2023? Because I've had someone express the view that, look, there's an attempt to destabilize the Southeast just to prove the point that, look, these Igbos, if you give them power, do you see what they will do with it? They are already either fighting among themselves or cannot secure their own region. And hence, it will be argued that, look, that region will not be quite right. And there are persons who have also argued that in some other parts of the country, there are fifth columnists at work, all because of politics.
Yes. There are a lot of conspiracy theories. A lot. And of course, you see, I think that is the crux of the problem, where we have to address certain issues in this country. Are we Nigerians, or we're just Orobo people, or some Fulani people, or some, Ijebu people living together? That question has to be answered. And if we agree that we are Nigerians, before we are Niger Delta people, or Northeast, or Northwest, Southwest, or whatever, then we are on to solving the problem. But the way it is now, when we are something else before we are Nigerians, then we have a very serious problem. We have a very, very serious problem. 2023 is coming, and all the theories are coming out. People believe that it's time for the Igbos to have the presidency now, and rightly so, because they are part of this country. But again, allow them to do it, because some people are saying, yes, if you give it to them too, there will be problem there, because they will not decide on who to come out with. But don't decide that for them. Let them decide it for themselves. But let's watch and see. Anybody who has the patriotic mind of this country should be able to start looking into the future to make sure that we leave all these primordial ideas about ethnicity, religion, politics, etc.
Well, you recall that in 2014, 2015, supporters of President Muhammad Buhari, they campaigned on the platform of the fact that even if he will not be able to deal with anything else, he'll be able to address the challenge of national security, given his background as a soldier, general, and as a former military head of state. Are you not worried that years after, this general, this civil war hero of Nigeria, doesn't seem to be able to really solve the problem? Now, if he succeeded by a civilian in 2023, where would that leave Nigeria when the war hero that we made president appears to be completely overwhelmed?
I think Nigerians are very much aware that you don't have to be a military person to succeed as a president.
No, to deal with security.
Or to deal with security, of course, same thing. When we look at the United States, for instance, when you're talking about security, most of the presidents that dealt with security decisively were civilian presidents, especially presidents who never served in the military, So it's a different ball game here, where we have a president who was a military general. And then, of course, during the campaigns, a lot of people came out to campaign. I remember very well.
Now your analysis of the U.S. situation, I may not agree.
Well,
it is not my job to argue with you.
No.
I just put the questions to you. But
so
the facts do not quite establish that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, here, many people said that. I remember very well during the campaign, somebody, a prominent person said, when America was in trouble, they ran to a general who helped them succeed and brought the country back together. And this time, when Nigeria is having a problem, we are going to run to a general who will do the job. Somebody said that. A prominent politician said that. Okay, fine. But remember, that was then. And then, of course, remember that during that last time, they succeeded to the extent where Nigerians were actually queuing in line or not easing themselves in public and everything. The war against indiscipline was very, very hot. But, of course, now you have to realize that the general came into power again after so many attempts. He's not been well. I think, was it 2019? 2019, I think most of the year he was away on medical treatment. So we might be dealing with a different person, maybe who is older and who is getting weaker. But if a civilian comes in and feels that they are strong enough to handle this, let's see. Because, yes, a civilian can do a very good job.
But there's somebody in the security sector and who is also a security consultant. Do you think that this security challenge in Nigeria is something that can be solved? And quickly, before we wrap this up, how?
Yes, it could be solved. Yes, it could be solved. We don't want a situation where people mix politics, religion, ethnicity. These are the three major threats, the existential threats that are facing this country. If these threats are removed, yes, we can solve it. And then, of course, if it is structure, yes, why not? We have the manpower and the know-how to do that, you know. And then, of course, when you look at the numbers, the military as a whole, we are 1,600. 1,600. 160,000. 160,000. Total military strength. Police, 300 and something, just around 400,000.
The truth is that we're never ever sure about these figures. In
yeah, but that's what it is. Nobody has come to
these
deny
are
them.
estimates.
Yeah, they are estimates, of course, because they might have recruited somebody yesterday. Private security is more than 2 million. Private security is more than 2 million. Why are we not using that resource, sitting down there just wasting? You know, so these are the things that we want to look at, put the right pegs in the right holes, and then the country will move. You know, there's no magic to it. And Singapore has done it. You know, other countries like ours, Malaysia has done theirs. And we should be able to move out of the quagmire that where we find ourselves now.
Well, at this point, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Dennis Amachree, former Assistant Director of the Directorate of State Security Services, for joining us on This Day Live and for the light you've been able to shed on the security situation in the country, the appointment of a new Inspector General of Police, and the circumstances in Imo State and other parts of the country.